Hi, I'm Anna Jordan. I'm a playwright and a screenwriter, and I'm sharing my writer's survival tips. And this is number 3, which is be an observer in your own life. So I posted this at a time where I was going through a really difficult patch in my life. And so this isn't just a sort of writer's tip, but this is just much more something that you can use in your everyday life. It's just a really useful tool and way of thinking. And I actually owe this to Adrian Mishler, Yoga with Adrian, which I do practically every day. And I really feel like I owe her a lot, not just for learning about yoga, but for learning about life. This isn't going as well as I hoped it would. So, firstly, I'm wearing a hat because I'm in my shed, but it's absolutely freezing. The reason that this is a good one for me at the moment, be an observer in your own life, is because I'm going through a really difficult time with work at the moment for many different reasons. And sometimes when you're in it, in the weeds, as it were, when you are really desperately struggling to meet a deadline, or you're dealing with all sorts of things that are outside your control, or the project has suddenly changed for lots of different reasons and you're having to play catch up, basically you're performing or trying to perform well outside your comfort zone. That's happened to me a lot recently, and it causes all sorts of different responses in me. Imposter syndrome, certainly, who am I to be doing this? I'm just a fake. But also worse than that, it's the sort of negative self-chatter that's like, you're lazy, you're useless, your work has no value. And I think that can be a really common thing. So this is a really useful little reminder. I'm just going to stop holding this up, you know what it says, about when we're experiencing difficulties with work or in our lives, to be able to just take a moment and step back and observe what's going on with sort of curiosity and compassion. So like last night, I knew I had a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time, but I also sort of took a step out and thought, you're really suffering, you feel really twisted up by this, really anxious. And actually, you're not going to get anywhere working as you are. So I went to bed with my son instead, and then woke up at 11 o'clock and worked for a couple of hours. And it was much more fruitful than it had been if I tried to power through when my son went to bed. So by taking that sort of step back, and rather than being emotionally involved and engaged in what was going on, I was able to take a step back and say, oh, look, this is what you're feeling at the moment, and this is how you're responding, and this is what's going on in your mind. Maybe you need this rather than that. So that idea of not always having to be in it all, in the emotion, in the fear, in the fear of failure, the anxiety, and especially, when there's so much going on in the world that just puts those sort of things into perspective. Although, of course, we still have worries and fears about our worth, about our creativity, about the talent that we have, about making a career from our art, all of those things. They don't go away because of the things that are going on in the world. They just sometimes appear to us quite differently. But another useful kind of thing I think that is similar to this, and this took me years to learn, I'm still learning this, is that, and this sounds like a bit of a poncy thing to say, but like, you are not your work. You are not the art that you make. Yes, it absolutely comes from you and it is part of you, but it is not you. And the reason I say that is because your value on this earth cannot be traced down to the art that you produce. Because once we get in that situation where we feel like our value as a human being is intrinsically linked with the art we make, and if we make shit art, then we're a shit person, and if we can't make art, then we're not a real person. If we make great art, we're a great person. I mean, that's as dangerous, right? And also, what is great art? It's subjective anyway. And so I think it can be quite a dangerous situation to be in, emotionally dangerous. When I was at LAMDA, my value was absolutely tied up with how good an actor I was. And when I first started writing, my value as a person was absolutely tied up with how good a writer I was. And actually, for some reason, Facebook keeps showing me these really vom-inducing kind of corny quote things. But I saw something that actually really sort of touched me or made me think. And it was, what if your value or your success was judged on how safe people feel in your company? And I thought, oh, wow, like, that's an incredible thought, you know. I try and think about the value of my value as a human being being connected to how much fun and my son has and how much joy he has in his life and how safe he feels, or how much support I can bring to the people in my own life. And another reason it's great to realise that you are not your work and you are not your art is because then life can get more fun, right? The more serious we take the art that we are making, and sometimes it is serious, sometimes it's our, you know, we're making our living, sometimes we're paying the mortgage, or sometimes it's just something that's incredibly important. But the less we make it the thing in our world that has to go right, and if it begins to go wrong, then everything starts to come crashing down, the harder it is to be curious, playful, and have fun with it, I think. So that's a bit muddled today, but for someone that's going through quite a tricky time creatively and emotionally at the moment, try being an observer in your own life.